Hi, folks. You're with Tacitus today at your Pushmill, and thank you for joining this radio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the advent of zombie politicians and why they vote for certain legislation and certain funding and so on. Now, you look at the so-called sort of radical politicians, the sort of the green-haired lesbian, and she gets in and she's going to fight back against the man and misogyny and white supremacy and fascists are everywhere and I'm going to stop them. I'll put them in their place and so on. But when you look at their voting record in Parliament, they vote with they vote along with massive increases to arms. They vote for all sorts of things that hurt and harm the people. And they don't just vote for so-called progressive issues. In fact, when you look at them, they're really just voting as the globalists would wish them. They're effectively scripted by the globalists. And as much as they may talk every now and again for the social media college kids to talk tough about fighting back against the man and all that sort of stuff, the reality is they don't. They're just going along with the people that they claim to be opposing. So, and it could be, money and arms for Ukraine, or that everybody should wear a Ukrainian pin or something like that, or voting for racial division and segregation, all sorts of things that are really harmful for the society and the community. They're certainly not voting in the legislature. They're certainly not voting for things that they said they cared about when they got gifted a position in Parliament. Now, why do they do this? Well, apart from the fact they may be just Trojan horses anyway, but putting that to one side for a minute, some of these people are genuinely lesbian activists. They're not faking that. That's genuinely what they are. They've been working in the NGOs and as activists, so they've got some pretty activist credentials, and that would have made them attractive to certain electorates. Where there's maybe a lot of college kids or something like that, or there's a very heavy gay lesbian component to the voting rolls, but when they get into Parliament, they seem to change. So why is that? Now, you need to understand just how much power the party machinery has. Like the Democrat Party machine, the Republican Party machine. They have the power to say who will run in any electorate. They pretty much decide that. Now, the local branch is meant to decide it, but in reality, head office decides it. In 99% of the case, you may get an odd outlying sort of situation, but effectively, it's the head office with the party machine that decides that. Now, the party machine also allocates the funding that they're going to give you. They're also going to allocate if someone else is going to run against you. So really, if you're going to keep that electorate, it is at the pleasure of the party machine. They can take that away from you at any time. Now, if you've got a really big profile and high profile and a huge amount of grassroots support, you probably could override the head office machinery, but that would be fairly rare. Not impossible, but rare and very difficult. So most people don't fight the party machine. The party machine can say, well, we'll give you $2 million for your re-election fund, but if you piss them off, they'll give you nothing, and they'll give that $2 million to someone else to run against you. So the chances are very high that you're going to get kicked out on that basis. So that's all head office decided. So you need to keep sweet with them, otherwise that's it. Your career in politics is over. Now, so once you get into the House of Representatives or the Senate or the Parliament or whatever it is, once you get in there and say you're a junior player, you've got no senior profile or senior role. You're not a black lesbian or something, so they're not going to give you a senior role in the government. So you end up you're just sitting in there, just filling in a seat. You're not doing anything You haven't been gifted the gig because you're a high-powered policy maker or policy developer or someone who's going to do the heavy lifting on policy. Far from it. You're just a fucking stooge, and they've given you that gig because, again, you can bring the college kids vote in. But so you're in Parliament, and the votes come up like, funding for some pointless war overseas, or funding to divide society, or funding for a huge marketing campaign to say all straight white males are Hitler, and things that are really injurious to the country, and also just coincidentally things that the globalists want, or putting in the Green New Deal policies that are going to really, really hurt poor people, but you still vote for it. So why do they do this? These zombie backbench, as they call them, politicians. They could very easily, no, I'm not voting for that. Well, you come back to the thing, if they could get kicked out of the next election, you have to do as you're told. If you don't, you're of no use to the party machine, the power centre, and they'll kick you out if you're of no use to them. So you have to vote on certain things. For example, funding some pointless overseas war that does nothing for your country or its citizens. Now, why would you vote for it, though? And I get asked this sometimes. People, why do these activists, these so-called or alleged activists, why do they vote for these things? They said they were totally opposed to it when they were initially standing for public office, but now they're voting with it. Why would they do that? Well, the party machine has a huge amount of power. That all the patronage is allocated by the party machine. So, say there are, for example, 5 recesses a year from the Parliament. So you get 3 weeks times 5. You get 15 or 16 weeks recess. It's more in a lot of places. 20, 22 weeks or so. And every one of these recesses, you're meant to spend time with your constituents and listen to their concerns and then bring those concerns into the Parliament and that sort of thing. But that's not what happens. They've delegated to flunkies and stooges to handle that for you. A few years ago, I went into to see the local politician about something, and I got fobbed off to some 19-year-old girl, and that's kind of how they play these things. Who was very pleasant, by the way, and very nice, but totally fucking stupid. And couldn't do anything. So anyway, these politicians in America, it could be somebody like Rashida Tlaib, or I don't know, AOC, and there are all sorts of politicians around the world, that British Parliament, Australian Parliament, New Zealand, whatever, that you could say, well, these people aren't very bright, so they probably couldn't do any policy work anyway. But they get five breaks a year, and if you toe the line, if you do what you're told and vote the way you're told, say the things you're told to say, they'll give you a written press release. We want you to say that you said this. We want you to release this from your electoral office, that you're saying that the Green New Deal is the best thing ever, and this sort of thing. So you have to do as you're told, and like a marionette, open your mouth and move your arms and legs based on the puppet master's string pulling. You have to do all that. But if you do it, the rewards are considerable. So these 5 breaks you have a year, you get a nice overseas trip to anywhere you want to go, which is referred to as a study tour. It's 5 stars, nice hotels, lots of sparkling swimming pools and lots of seafood, waterfront restaurants, and lots of wine, and so on and so on and so forth. Lots of embassy parties. The list goes on. And every time there's a break, you can go away. Now that alone, 5-star vacation, because that's what it is. It's a vacation. You turn up for a few hours at the local embassy or something like that, and that satisfies the requirement for study tour. and you've got a couple of weeks of 5-star. Just the bill of some of these politicians. If you add, them and their partners, you add the airfares, the partners' airfares, the hotel accommodation, the meals, traveling, various entertainment, the wine, and so on, the cocktails, and all that sort of stuff. You can very easily rack up a bill of 20, 30, 40,000 bucks for a holiday like that, or a vacation like that. And you're doing that 5 times a year. Let's be nice and say it's 20,000. You're still burning $100,000 tax free, paid for with tax free, but there's no taxation on it for your income. So it's $100,000 of free, lavish vacation money that's given to you courtesy of taxpayer. But you have to do as you're told. If you don't do it, then you can be in all sorts of trouble. You won't get those. So every time there's a break, you don't go anywhere. They don't even give you the funds to walk around the block, let alone go on a lavish overseas vacation to some island paradise or something like that. So you need to be doing as you're told if you want that sort of largesse to come your way, and that's a lot. You and your partner having these nice high. Remember, you're already a basic person. In your cognizance, you're sitting there. Like I'm looking at the background of one federal politician here. The only job she ever had was working on the reception desk at a mid-level, like a 3.5-star hotel. That's the only job she's ever had. So she's got no sort of expertise. She's got some bullshit sociology degree from some 5th-tier college. And she's worked, as I say, on the reception desk at a 3.5-star hotel. So to her, the best, she'll be lucky to make 40 or 50,000 bucks a year in the real world. Lucky to make that. And now she's been gifted by the party machine to get the black lesbian vote or whatever it was for. She's been gifted that. She's a zombie politician. She's not expected to think. She's not expected to do anything. She's expected to do what the fuck she's told and vote how she's told to vote, to say what she's told to say. And in return, she gets a lot of. She's already getting like 180,000 bucks a year. That's got to be 3.5, 4 times what she could make in the real world. Her eyes are dazzled. She's like, whoa. I was looking to a life of existing minute by minute, day to day, and living in some shit place, eating shit food, and that was going to be my lot for the rest of my life. And here I am sitting in this place with a nice office, leather seats, and good income, and lots of benefits. And all I have to do is do what they tell me to do. I mean, wow, it's an easy gig. So she gets the 100,000 bucks of travel, but on top of that, there are literally hundreds of committees that they form in these parliaments or in Congress. These committees now, they've got a system of payment for these committees, and the work's hardly onerous. Maybe it is in some of them, but so the committees meet, and there's got to be a chairperson, deputy chairperson, assistant deputy chairperson, and then committee members. Now, the committee members, they're meant to meet, I think, once a month for a couple of hours, but they're paid sort of not a lot of money. Maybe they're paid 50,000 bucks a year for sitting on the committee, but then the deputy chairperson gets $65,000 a year, and then the committee chairperson gets 100,000 or 90,000 or whatever it is. But now, if you want to go on these committees, it's a great way to build up your income, and so you're already on 175,000, 180,000 a year. But you get on a couple of committees, say 2 or 3 committees, and there's a gazillion of these committees floating around. And if the right people like you and want to reward you for doing as you're told, you can get 1, 2, 3, 4 committee memberships, maybe a couple of chairmanships of the committee. So you can increase you can double your income, easily double your income by getting a few committees. And again, hardly onerous. You meet for 2 hours once a month. Half a day once a month. That's it. That's all you got to do. Now, technically, you're meant to do a lot of reading and heavy lifting on that, but you've got flunkies to do that stuff for you, and they'll just summarize it into a couple of pages, and that's it. That's your reading. Assuming these low IQ people can even understand that. I mean, if your only experience in work and life is the reception desk at a hotel. You're unlikely to be an intellectual juggernaut, but you can get these committees now. So that's another area. But if you don't do as you're told, you've got no chance of getting in any of these committees, and your income can go from 180 to 350,000 a year, 400,000 a year if you get a few of these committees. So it can be richly rewarding. Now, the third area of largesse is I think everybody knows, because of the explosion in real estate prices over the last 25 years or so in the West, and it's happened to every Western country. Australia is no different, or certain pockets, have done well. Things like LA or New York or whatever, parts of San Fran and so on, Sydney. But given the price of real estate has exploded, the party machine has a lot of connections into the big finance end of town. They're almost joined at the hip, and so they can make sure. Well, little Billie Jean there. I wonder if you could sort of help her maybe get find her some property that your valuers think is good value. So they'll find a $2 million property, and they'll make, for example, and they'll make sure Billie Jean gets it for $1 million. She'll sit on it for maybe a year, and then until the trail goes cold, sit on a year, and then they'll introduce the big financial institution will introduce a cashed up Chinese buyer that just wants to launder his money, and and that buyer will pay well over the market price, maybe $5 million. So you've got a $2 million place for $1 million that someone buys a year later for $5 million. You've had the finance all fixed up for you by the same people that are bringing the buyer to get buyer over to you. So you've made a cool profit of $4 million just in one transaction. Now you get a few of those together, and it's life changing. You'll never need to work again, assuming your needs are somewhat modest, but you'll never need to work again. You'll retire from Parliament or the Congress with a generous pension for life and medical cover, dental cover, and you've got 10, 12, $15 million in the bank, and all you had to do, you're a moron, you never, you can't do anything, and so all you had to do was just do as you're fucking told. So those are the sort of controls that the party machine have over people. Now let's take the opposite side, where you go, no, I represent my constituents, I represent their concerns, I'm not going to vote. Maybe you vote the way they want you on some issues because you happen to agree with it, or but other issues you don't. So you've got a bit of a patchy record, but they'll identify you as somebody, you've got your own mind about things. You will make up your own mind, and you may or may not vote in the way they want you to. Now that means you're unreliable. If you're unreliable, you're useless to them. They have to know that you will do what you're told to do when they tell you to do it, without question, that you'll just go along with it. You don't have to be sold on the idea, convinced, or anything like that. You'll just do it. Now, they may cut you some slack if you're bribable, where you say, well, I'm not going to vote that way. All right, then we'll give you 2 trips to Tahiti. Okay, then I'll vote like it. Maybe they'll allow that, but otherwise, no. Any pushback, and you're screwed. So they'll make sure that come the next election that someone else runs against you, or they cut off all your funding, so you lose the district anyway, or your election funding. So they'll find a way of getting to you, and so you're screwed. You've achieved nothing. Okay, so you've done a few votes, but you might be one of the only one, maybe the only one, maybe a small handful of people vote their own. They all lose their jobs. The vote still goes the way that the goons want it to do. So you've achieved nothing by standing up for what you believe in. You've got nothing. So why not just go along with what they want? Why not just do what they say? If you really piss them off, then you're going to find things like some little intern that was in your office runs out of the office screaming with a torn blouse, he tried to rape me, and that's it. You're screwed anyway. You're finished there. They'll find a way. So really, the easy thing to do is just go along with it and put the benefits in your pocket. So that's why there are so many zombie politicians in the Western parliaments, and why they go along with what they're told to do and why they vote the way they do. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.